Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Esoteric Atlanta. Of course, my name is Bryce, and this episode today is going to be a little bit more disorganized. We're going to have some fun with the Cassiopean board. I feel like we always have fun with the Cassiopean board, but my original plan for this week with the Cassiopeans has been altered a little bit because this weekend, my nephew had an emergency appendectomy. Which I didn't post about it, obviously, but he is fine. He's home now. And so that definitely put a wrench in my family's, in general, all of our schedules when you've got a 12-year-old rushed to the hospital because his appendix needs to come out. And the weird thing is, you guys, I'll tag this video down below. So my nephew, my 12-year-old nephew, my sister's oldest son, I'm also his godmother, believe it or not. But in May of 1995, I was 12 years old, and I too had an emergency appendectomy. And then in May of 2025, when my nephew and godson is 12 years old, he now has an emergency appendectomy. The crazy thing too is that my great aunt, so my nephew's great great aunt, had her appendix out at 12 years old. My grandmother, so my nephew's great grandmother, had her appendix out at 12 years old. And then my brother-in-law's, my nephew's father's grandfather, has had his appendix out, they think, around 12 years old. So that's freaking wild. It's wild. But nonetheless, he's fine. He's at home. But it's just having an appendicitis is, I come down hard sometimes on medicine, but in cases like this is where Western medicine really shines. Because when your appendix is inflamed, like, it's got to come out, or you're not going to make it. And I know that's weird for people to process because it happens and the hospitals just fix it and you're fine. But if it doesn't come out, you're not fine. And I want to reiterate this because I've had people ask me this before, and I had a few people ask me this or say this to me this weekend when they found out in Atlanta, when they found out about my nephew. I know a lot of parents get paranoid that their kid's going to have like a stomach ache and they're not going to know it's the appendix and it's not going to end well for the child. Let me just reassure you that when your appendix is inflamed, and you are extremely sick. So it is the type of sickness. It's not just like a stomach ache, right? It's not that. Your body is so unbelievably intelligent, and it is going to start to aggressively tell you that there is something wrong. I even though I was 12 when this happened, I remember it like it was yesterday. I've never in my life been in that much pain. And I've never in my life since then, I've been sick, there's been sicknesses, but that was one of the worst sicknesses I'd ever had. It is to the point where regardless of how you feel about Western medicine, you will end up in the emergency room because it is so incredibly painful that you want whatever is happening to stop. And so I want to reassure parents that if your kid needs to have an appendectomy, you're going to know, right? It's not just a little stomach ache. You're gonna know, like, your kid's not going to be able to walk and they're going to be like projectile vomiting, right? Like it's not like a stomach bug. It is incredibly aggressive. So don't worry about that, but we're all fine. Anyway, I just think that's crazy though, that like everything has happened at the same month, same age, all that kind of stuff. I think my sister even has said something to the doctor about that. Like, this is really strange that my sister had it the same age, same month, and we have all these extended relatives who also had it. And the doctor didn't seem to like weirded out by that, but I just think that's some crazy karma. So anyway, with that being said, that's why this video is a little bit more disorganized, because I just usually on the weekends, I take a moment to kind of organize my week ahead and figure out where we're going and get prepped, but I just have not had a chance to do that because of this did not have my nephew having an appendectomy on my 2025 bingo card. So, but here we are. But he's fine. It's incredible, you guys. When I had mine 30 years ago, I think I was like in the hospital for like maybe 2 weeks. I mean, it was a long time I was in the hospital and I missed a lot of school. Which, I mean, you're 12, you're in the sixth grade, whatever. My scar is still really big, but the way they do it now, it's so fast and he's back at home and they're not too fussy about the follow-up appointments or like, it's just amazing like how much has improved in the 30 years since it happened to me. And the good news is once it happens to you, once you have an appendectomy, that's something you're never going to have to worry about again. Once that sucker's out, it's out. It's not coming back. So you're never going to have to worry about that happening to you again. But nonetheless, thank you guys for understanding that this video is a little bit more disorganized because of that. Now, with that being said, before we get into the subject at hand, we are going to have some fun today. I want to show you guys tomorrow's RUMBLE channel. So let's see. If you're new here, sometimes it is, hold on one second. If you're new here, sometimes the YouTube likes to kind of change the rules of the game on us. And I think that this platform is definitely a trigger now because so many people are using this platform because there's not as much Big Brother is watching on this platform. So it's RUMBLE. And this is Tamara's channel. As you guys know, she comes on my channel at least once a month. Normally it's multiple times a month. But Tamara is an incredible, I don't even know what to call her. She's a psychic medium. She reads charts. She reads your astrology. There's so much with what she can do. And so she texted me this morning, evening her time. She does these weekly overviews. And because of the situation with the new Pope and some of the allegations, I'll say, against the new Pope, she's going to be doing a lot this week with her weekly readings. So she told me if I would tell you guys to please make sure that you are subscribed to her over on RUMBLE so you don't miss out on any of her weekly overviews. I'm going to link that down in the description box below. If you live in a country where you don't get the RUMBLE platform, let me know down in the comment section below, and I will let Tamara know because I know we briefly talked about it. And you guys know that I also put my backup stuff not just on my channel on RUMBLE, but I also put it over on the Esoteric Academy especially for our people like in France and other countries where they don't get this particular platform. So let me know if there's a good number of you who don't get this particular platform in your countries. I will let Tamara know, and we can probably figure out a way to get her videos maybe up on her website. I've offered up Esoteric Atlanta to her, Esoteric Academy to her as well. So anyway, guys, but interesting time. So please make sure that you are subscribed to her over there so you can keep up with what is going on in the craziness of the world. So with that being said, you guys, before we get into the reading for today, I just thought, what's something fun we can talk about because my brain scattered today, and I put in the Mandela Effect. And I only found one reading, oddly, from 2023, so not that long ago, that goes into the Mandela Effect. I've skimmed it, so I think this is the reason why it's only talked about once, because they give a pretty logical reason for it. But before we get in this, if you're new here, I'm going to play a quick little introduction to the Cassiopeans and the Law of One, so you know who these people are. If you have been here for a while and you're watching the replay, you can just skip through it if you want to, but otherwise, a couple of minutes just so you guys know who the Cassiopeans are. Laura Knight's Cassiopean experiments, often associated with the Cassiopeia material, involves the exploration of consciousness, spirituality, and the nature of reality. Through various methodologies, including channeling and psychic experiments, Knight and her collaborators sought to communicate with higher intelligences, particularly a group of entities referred to as the Cassiopeans. The primary aim was to gain insight into the metaphysical questions, the nature of existence, and human development. The experiments included multi-session discussions that cover topics like multidimensional realities, free will, and the influence of higher dimensional beings on humanity. Knight recorded these sessions, which often contained profound philosophical and esoteric insights. And these records became part of a larger body of work that aimed to explore consciousness beyond conventional scientific understanding. The overall tone of the experiments reflect a blend of skepticism and deep inquiry into the nature of consciousness and our place in the universe. Laura Knight began her communication with the Cassiopeans in 1994. She is still in communication with the Cassiopeans to this day. If you would like a better understanding of the Cassiopeans and their impact on humanity, I would highly suggest checking out the Wave series by Laura Knight, the Cassiopean Forum, which a link will be provided in the description box below, or purchasing the book that I personally am reading from that contains all of the transcripts and conversations between Laura and the Cassiopeans. The Cassiopeans base the soul's evolution and consciousness on the spiritual template known as the Law of One. The Law of One is also known as the raw material. It is a series of philosophical texts that emerged from a series of channeling sessions conducted by Carla Rucker, Don Elkins, and Jim McCarthy in the early 1980s. The sessions involved channeling a consciousness known as Ra, who claimed to be a collective of extraterrestrial beings from the sixth density. The key concepts in the Law of One are unity and oneness. The central tenet of the Law of One is that all beings are fundamentally interconnected and are expressions of the same universal consciousness. The phrase, "we are all one," encapsulates this idea, emphasizing that unity is the essence of existence. It also covers the densities of existence. The material describes the cosmos as composed of multiple densities or levels of existence. Each density represents a stage of spiritual evolution, with humans currently experiencing a third density, which is characterized by lessons in love, understanding, and most importantly, making choices. We also seek to understand in the Law of One soul evolution. According to Ra, souls undergo a process of evolution through these densities, learning and growing through various incarnations. The choice between these paths influences one's spiritual evolution and the experiences one encounters in life. There's also discussions of the role of free will. Free will is considered sacred, and individuals are encouraged to explore and make choices regarding their spiritual development without interference from higher beings. If you would like more information on the Law of One, please make sure to check out the material for yourself. A link to all resources will be posted down in the description box below. But for now, let's get on with the show. Now, I want to do this too quickly because even though you would have to be living under a rock if you don't know what the Mandela Effect is, but I'm going to go ahead just in case there's somebody that's never heard of this. Let's just review what the Mandela Effect is. So we're just asking AI on Google. It's good enough for this purpose. The Mandela Effect is a phenomenon where a large group of people share a false memory or an event or detail, often misremembering it in a constant way. It's named after the false memory of Nelson Mandela unaliving in prison during the 1980s, despite him actually unaliving in 2013. What is this? The Mandela Effect is a collective misremembering of facts, events, or details that are widely believed by many people. It is not about individual memory lapse, but rather about a large group of people having the same false memory. The term was popularized by paranormal researcher Fiona Broome, who noticed that many people shared a false memory of Nelson Mandela. Examples: many people remember the Monopoly Man having a monocle, even though he doesn't. Some people remember the Star Wars quote, "Luke, I am your father," when the actual line is, "No, I am your father." Many people remember the spelling of Febreze as Febreze with two E's. Why it happened. So this is the official narrative, right? Our memories are not perfect records of events, and we can sometimes create false memories that feel very real. Suggestion: exposure to media or discussions about particular details can influence our memories, even if they are inaccurate. Expectation: We may remember things based on our expectations or preconceived notions rather than the actual details. Visual Mandela effects. Some research suggests that certain images are more prone to misremembering than others. Now, most of us know that this explanation is kind of BS. And the reason why, and I will agree, I'll give them that, false memories are a thing. That's why a lot of times eyewitness testimony can be easily like impeached in trials and stuff. And sometimes eyewitness testimony is not the most reliable because our memories can shift. It's crazy how the brain will it's not like you're being dishonest. It's like your brain changes a memory. And then, of course, you have this phenomenon of two people being in the same place when an event happens. But literally, depending on where they're standing when the event happens, it can be perceived slightly differently. So we know that with people that, and I'm sorry if you guys hear weird sounds coming out. I've got the dryer going, but we know that that can happen with memory. That people can, or it can change a little bit over time. And again, it's not anything nefarious the person is trying to do. It's just how the brain works, and it happens to all of us. So that's why it's important to keep journals sometimes. But with this situation, we know that there's something weird going on because that is not false memories. False memories are recrafted memories, are individual experiences. But I'm pulling my channel up right now because we've got some other videos on this. But when a whole group of people remember an event a certain way, then that's not misremembering. Right? How come I remember something the exact same way someone in China remembers something like a global event? We don't know each other. Right? And so this is a very strange phenomenon. So I feel like the powers that be are trying to use legitimate science, legitimate information we know about the brain where an individual can create a false memory. And they're trying to take that same explanation and code it over this whole group misremembering, as they say. Am I making sense? To get us confused, kind of gaslight us a little bit, oh, the whole group must have some psychosis together or something. But no, that's not it at all. Now, we do also have, I'm going to see if I can find these. These are old videos I did. I think that they're, let's see, I'm trying to remember. I covered these so long ago. Yeah, so they're all under, some of these stories are under the Mystery Monday playlist. But years ago when I first opened my channel, so the man from the country that does not exist, we have some different stories here about different parallel universes. I'll put this down in the description box below, but I'll also put Mystery Monday up down below as well, because we have a ton of videos about stuff like that where we have parallel timelines going on. It's crazy, it's weird. And so some people think the Mandela effect is us coming in and out of different timelines. Some people believe that the Mandela effect is caused by CERN. We're going to get into it. I don't know what the exact answer is. We're going to see what the Cassiopeans have to say, but I definitely don't think it's a misremembering. I don't think it's that at all. Of course, that is my opinion, and just because we are on YouTube, I'm just going to go ahead and say this is for educational and entertainment purposes only. I will, as always, have the transcripts from this particular reading down in the description box below. Okay, so session 14th of January 2023. And again, if you're new here, just because I typed in Mandela effect, we're going to have other subjects. I don't know what the other subjects are. I just looked at the Mandela effect, but they talk about multiple things in these transcripts. So, all right, so these are the people who are here. So on the board, we have Laura and Andromeda at the board, Pierre, Joe, Gabby, Ark, POB, Chu, Scotty, Neil, Princess Leia. They're all in the room with them as they're talking to the Cassiopeans. And then these are all the people who are here via Zoom. Now, again, if you want to join the Cassiopean forum, you're more than welcome to do that and potentially join them in Zoom one day. That is an option to you. Again, all that information is down in the description box below. So, question, Laura. We decided we ought to have another session. That's what we were going to do tonight. Does anybody have anything in particular on their mind that they want to talk about other than the political situation or the fancy flu or what the heck is going on? Does anybody have any specific questions? Joe, one or two. Chu, okay. FOTCM people have some questions now. And again, that's the people that are on the forum, like I just said. So if you want to come on the forum. Laura, okay, reads questions and comments on Zoom. Well, okay, they're cooking. I guess we better get started so we can keep up. Otherwise, we're going to get left behind here. So, and again, you guys know these names from Cassiopeia are wild. I've said this before. I'll say it again. I'd love to see their baby book names. Foloria from Cassiopeia here at your service. Good people, greetings. Laura, well, do you have any particular questions we want to ask before we open the floor? You don't have any, Joe? Joe, nah, nothing that would. What about you, honey? Ark is her husband. Ark, maybe later. Laura, once we get started with these people, there's not going to be a later. Neil, I have a question. Many high-profile Russians have unalived under mysterious circumstances recently. Are some of them the victims of deliberate targeting? Answer, some. Question, Neil, who or what is behind this? Answer, your favorite alphabet agency. Laura, the three-letter agency. Answer, yes. How come? Confusion in some cases, removing potential threats or influences. This is Spycraft 101. Laura, you could have figured that out, Neil. Next question. I mean, yeah, she could have. It's kind of common sense now what's going on. Well, it's 24 years. Well, it's 24 seriously VIP people. The main conspiracy theory or explanation of any kind in the media is that Putin is doing it to traitors within. No one has suggested that it is. Answer, Cassiopeans are like, no, it's not him. It's not Putin. Okay, it's the three-letter agency, right? And that's why, I mean, we love conspiracy theories on these channel. Conspiracy theories are fun. You know, what do they say? Secrets are no fun. Secrets are for everyone. And some conspiracy theories make a lot more sense as to the truth of what's going on. But some we know are just junk conspiracy that are literally put out there by the bad guys to throw us off, to get us stuck in like a junk conspiracy cul-de-sac. So with every conspiracy theory, I've learned to take it with a grain of salt and to let things play out and to use common sense and to not get distracted on what the real root of this time period is, and that's working on yourself, right? And making your own choices. No one's coming to save you. You got to save yourself, right? All right, Joe, they wouldn't suggest it anyway, but historically that kind of stuff goes on all the time. They take out each other's assets. Everyone does it. I think it ramped up now because of the conflict and there's more at stake. It's like 24 CEOs. It's like 24 CEOs are similarly high-level people falling off balance and stuff down staircases. Some are schmurdered in a schmuicide pact. Whole families unalived. Laura, that's crazy. Most of them were connected to the energy industry, gas, oil, and so on. Joe, strategic industries, yeah. Laura, all right, next. There was a gas explosion in Ireland on October 7th that unalived about a dozen people. What caused this gas? What kind of gas? What was it? I know I said that word once. I'm not going to say it again, though, just to be on the safe side. They don't know. It was at a petrol. It's so weird for me to say that. For the Americans, a gas station. It was at a gas station, but it wasn't the actual gas tanks that blew. It was natural gas in the row of houses behind the station. And you guys didn't find any suspicious people who were unalived by it? No. So you're asking what caused it? Yeah. Answer, sparks. Garbage in, garbage out. Right. So stupid questions get stupid answers. So again, that's the thing about like conspiracy theories. And the Cassiopeans have pointed this out. Sometimes things happen for sinister purposes. And sometimes things just happen on accident. Right? Not every bad thing that happens, quote unquote, bad thing that happens is caused by the Illuminati, right? And to think that every bad thing that happens is caused by the Illuminati is literally guaranteeing you a ticket back to this life, a karmic ticket back, because that's taking absolutely no accountability for the fact that sometimes we create bad things, right? We have to also take accountability for our own actions as well. And then sometimes accidents just happen. And when accidents happen, we got to learn from those accidents so we can do better. But if we're so willing to just blame everything on everyone else, then we're never going to course correct our own actions. So Laura says, I have one question. Is there anything to the so-called Mandela effect other than people's tendency to confuse and conflate information. In some cases, it indicates a change in the program. Laura, like deja vu. Answer, yes. Laura, next. Actually, let me write this down, guys. I'll do that next. I'll do deja vu next with the Cassiopeans, because obviously they've talked about this before, about deja vu, but that might be an interesting one because that's something we all struggle with is deja vu. Answer, yes. Laura, next. Is there anything significant about the salt mines in Soledar that the Russians just captured other than being deep salt mine tunnels? Not especially, though some have used it for hiding, not useful for occult practices due to the salt, which is cleansing. So no aliens? No. No chupacabras? No. For the same reason they don't like salt? Yes. We need a salt mine as a place of refuge from weird stuff. Let's build one out back. Laura, all right, as you can see, we can't think of much to ask, so let's go. The seed said we should get prepared for an alien invasion. What will that look like and how to prepare? I think we've already covered that in the transcripts, isn't it? Does anybody remember? Yes, no, nobody remembers. Did they say we already had an alien invasion? Recently in the news, it was reported that there have been over 350 reports, mostly coming from military personnel, mostly within the past 2 years. Andromeda UFO reports, like an increase of flap just in the last 2 years since March 2021, a military UFO flap. A main prep should be psychological and spiritual. So the apparition, nothing like what you would expect. Most will be done via proxies as invaders do not fit Earth's FRV. Review of answers. Some dramatic displays of power and control are possible. Joe, who are the proxies most likely to be from our perspective? Heads of government who are plugged in or replacements. Joe, the dramatic display of power and control that are possible, who would they come from? I mean, who are big? Okay, let me read that again. So question, Joe, the dramatic displays of power and control that are possible, who would they come from? I mean, who would be giving these dramatic displays of power and control? Dramatic displays coming from UFOs? Answer, yes. Joe, they said most of it will be done by proxies, i.e. human beings, and there will be dramatic displays of power and control. Yeah, but when we read the answer and they threw that last part in afterwards, so it was like an additional note on the topic. Well, people who research it know that they've turned off all the, I don't want to say that word, at some place in Montana or somewhere years and years ago. Does that imply a generalized awareness of aliens among the human population at some point? Answer, yes. Laura, can you imagine what that's going to be like even after all of us sitting here? We've all been reading about it, thinking about it, and talking about it for 25, 30 years. And yet, if and when they ever actually come out and say, hey guys, we're here, we'd probably all go into some type of panic attack. I have said this too. I agree with Laura here. I have said this too. I kid you not, you guys, like we know that we're not the only ones out there. We know that we have been dealing with extraterrestrial life and the influences of extraterrestrial life for many, many generations. We know there's more that our governments know that they aren't telling us. And even though some of us have had our own experiences, even though that's all well and good, if you turn on the news tomorrow and literally saw a spaceship land, I think I would have a panic attack. Right? Like, even though we're prepared for it, I think it would still be quite gobsmacking to see it on a mass scale. I know this Cassiopeans have said before that the Palladians influenced music of the 80s. And so if the Palladians come down, they better be wearing like neon leggings. They better have their hair teased and sprayed, or I'm going to be very disappointed. But usually with alien stuff, it's and other density beings, it's not really the good ones that are actually going to invade, right? Like the good ones don't want to mess with our free will. It's typically the bad ones. So if it does happen, I would be very have your boundary and your guard up. So Joe says, I better get my pew pew. Well, I mean, come on. We've been programmed all of our lives to think that such things don't exist. It's all just conspiracy theory, but all the conspiracy theories have been coming true. Oh my God. And Jermina, I know. And even when you know about them, it's still jaw dropping. But they said as well that it would be nothing like you would expect. So what we're expecting is like Hollywood, Independence Day, the mothership in the sky, that kind of thing. Probably it's not going to be like that. So how would it manifest? Laura, why would it not be like that? Overt violation of free will, thus generating sharp and inclusive opposition. Yeah. And that's the thing too. In some cases, they've said we've already experienced the invasion. We just didn't see it because they don't want to and overtly. The bad guys also have to respect our free will, or they could they could degauss, they could lose their polarity. So that makes sense to me. Question, Laura. So in other words, if they came out and announced that they were invading, all the people would be upset and we unite together. Their unification would be sufficient to fend off or reject or otherwise negate the aliens' ability to enter our reality. Is that what you're saying? Close. People wouldn't be receptive to them. So it's all got to be done by stealth. How do you get around it then? How do you introduce the idea of existence of aliens without presenting yourself? By not making it look like an invasion. Here to help. Displays of power by stopping warlike activities, being the saviors of mankind or something like that. Answer yes. Remember, nobody can save you but you. You are the only one who can save you. Question, Joe. They'll present themselves as benevolent. It wasn't even that they were going to be aggressive. It's more like, how do they present themselves? Is it a ship? Well, they can present themselves without presenting an invasion. Like miracles in the past or something like that. Angels, yes. And that's so important, you guys. Yes. So they've said before, many times, that like all the hallucinations, all the times people have seen the Mother Mary, that's not, the Mother Mary has never been seen. What people are seeing is a Lizzie manipulating them. And sometimes the negative entities can do what appears to be service to others activities, but what they're using it for is to manipulate you, to gaslight you, to love bomb you into getting you subservient to them. So again, you have got to be on your guard, right? And once, I don't know if it was the Cassiopeans who said this, it might have been, they're like, don't you be getting no ship. They're trying to get you. They feed off of you. If you get in the ship, you ain't coming back. All right. Joe, we'll just have to wait and see. Weather and geological activity also involved. Question. That one wouldn't grow awareness in aliens. People would just think it's a weather event unless they come and save us from weather, a geological event. So we have no idea what we're facing, and you can't help us out anymore there. Answer, to do so would violate learning directive. It's good that you know that prominent figures are already preparing the ground, such as Bill Gates and Klaus Schwab. Question, Laura. So it's up to us to exercise our brains and our networking to put the picture together and to be aware that these people are not acting in our best interests. They may be hooked up with evil aliens who plan to take over our planet and who definitely want to reduce the population by large numbers. They want us to starve, freeze us, all the things that we've been seeing that they are doing. They're just sweeping ahead with no concern whatsoever for what the human population wants or thinks. That in itself is peculiar. Well, they feed on misery, right? Oh yeah, you're right. The more miserable, the more they get fed. And that's Psi. Well, the only thing about that, the more miserable people get, hopefully many of them will begin waking up and wish to find out how to stop the misery. So that's a depressing topic. Who asked it? You had to do that, right? Ruin my day. Laughter. Okay, let's see. The Germans. Why do so many missing 411 cases involve people of German heritage? They are used for genes. So they want their genes. Yes. Why do they want German genes? Close to Aryan. Are they using them to build new bodies? In some cases, also for growing spare parts for repairs. Lovely. My arm fell off. Not a problem. Which model would you like? We have a good deal on Aryan arms this week. They're using genetic samples to grow like clones and stuff. Some. Do they grow organs? Yes. Do they grow babies? Yes. Can it get any worse than that? Yes. What do you mean consumed? The alien version of the veggie burger, artificial meat. What are you? You are what you eat. It's not artificial meat. Yeah, it's real meat. You had to ask the question, didn't you? Okay. How many years before Caesar's death was Rome founded and by whom? This is interesting. 700 years approximately by a group of steppe warriors mixed with local groups. So the official history is not wrong so much about the timing of the founding of Rome. Yes. How much less how much less is percent was gravity how much less in percent was gravity in Italy during the life of Caesar compared to today? 4.116. But it might have been less further back in time. It was already by that time that the giants were dying out, right? Yeah. Did the Romance languages originate from the same language? If so, was it ancient Italian? Okay, first question. Did the Romance languages originate from the same language? Further back in time than your question allows? Yes. Was it Iberian? Close. Landing place of ancient Atlantean survivors. That's interesting. Now, there's more I want to say here about the whole Aryan thing, but I'm going to get into that with Paula, actually. There was a Nordic covenant that we have to actually talk about before we go further with the Cathars and the Knights Templar. That's going to be a very touchy subject, though, of what that means and what they're talking about and why they're asking so many questions about the Germans and the Aryan and the Nordics. Again, it's going to be a touchy subject, but there is stuff that they mention that kind of needs to be acknowledged about why they're so fascinated with particular DNA strands, we'll say. We also know that the Rh negative bloodline, which I am Rh negative, that is what, like 13% of the world is Rh negative, and of those Rh negative, of the 13%, 85% of that 13% is found in Europe. So there's something about the Nordic Aryan that they're gonna, in the past they had gone into, and so we're gonna go into that with Paula in the next episode I shoot with her, so that we can go further with that's gonna then feed into like the series we're doing on the Cathars and the Knights Templar, right? And yeah, we might that's gonna be a touchy one though, so but you guys will see it when that video pops up. It'll be later this week. The C's once said that all is one regarding world governments. Is that still the case? Less now than then. Recall the control that the USA had over Russia until Putin began to make moves to change that. There have been a lot of famous people and musicians in the US unaliving lately or having heart unalives. Are they related? Most. And we notice, by the way, that nobody in Congress and nobody in the EU Parliament is dropping unalived from the fancy flu related effects, which suggests very strongly that none of them took it. If they got it on TV demonstrating that they were, it was probably salt water. They weren't taking it. Some of them took but a minority. Probably the people that they wanted to get rid of. So this coming comet called C2022E3 ZTF, which apparently is reported as appearing every 50,000 years. Our twin sun Nemesis? No, I don't know anything about that. You guys, let me know about that. This was from 2023, so let me know in the comment section if you know more about that comet. If not, as you mentioned in the previous session, will Nemesis be reported in a similar way? No. What, if anything, was pew-pewed down over Rostov region in Russia? UFO question mark? When? Last week. They said it was a drone, but there were rumors on the ground that it was a strange light. UFO was not pew-pewed down, but was observing. What was the first Indo-European language created by the gene builders? Indo-European was not created. Languages emerged into your reality. It emerged. Indo-European was a misnomer of the remnants of the Kentuckian languages. So that's, again, we'll get more into, you guys have heard me talk about the Kentuckian people. If you're white, you come originally from, or your ancestors come originally from a planet called Kentucky. Also, I think Indian people too. That's where we get Celtic. The Celts and the Indians have which explains why so many white people are into yoga, right? There's a shared heritage there. And so remnants of the Cassiopean planets still do exist in our solar system, but the Cassiopean people were moved here to planet Earth. Again, we're going to get more into that during the conversation about the Nordic covenant. Okay, question. Is Elon Musk aware of hyperdimensional beings' reality? Not much. Do quantum or supercomputers communicate with other dimensions of reality? We'll be able to do so soon. With this question right here, I'm just going to sum this up for you guys. So we know in India, so the Brahmin class is the highest caste in India. If you're new here, I've spent a lot of my time in India, so even though I'm a white person, I know a lot about the culture. So the Brahmin caste is the highest caste in India, and they're the priests and the priest holders, right? Like they're the highest caste, and they of course we know most Hindus are vegetarian. The 80% of India is vegetarian, and they don't actually worship the cow. This, I don't really like how they say that. They don't actually, the cow just is a represents, it's complicated, but it does represent, like the 4 different legs represents different things. Oh, you guys know, speaking of cows, do you know what I read the other day? You know how cows wear bells around their neck, or they have in the past? That was the sound to keep the parasites away from I thought that was very interesting about sound healing with the cowbells, but nonetheless, so they're asking, like, they went from obsessive beef eating to worshiping the cow as part of the counter revolution against the Buddhist. Is this close to the reality of what happened? They're saying close. So we know that so the warrior caste, historically the warrior caste in India was a caste that did eat meat. But the thing is, like with the Buddhism is an offshoot of Hinduism. The biggest obstacle that I see that India has faced, and a lot of the stopping of eating of meat, like with the warrior caste, came more from the Muslim influence. Anyway, it gets into it. Sometimes it's kind of the problem I have with some of the people on this board, and I've expressed this with Laura before too. You know, my teacher in India used to say 99% practice, 1% theory. What I get, and this is just my speculation from a lot of these people, is that, and listen, in saying this, like 2 things can be true, right? We live in such a world where you're either like all in or all out. Like we can't disagree on things. And that's ridiculous because that's very cult minded. And so you guys know when I read stuff on this, I push back where I feel like I need to push back. And it's never with the Cassiopeans, but it's always with the people asking the questions. And what I have picked up, again, this 99% practice, 1% theory that my teacher used to talk about. I see with this group, what's coming off to me, in my opinion, could change, but right now I'm speculating that most of these people are hardcore academics. And there's nothing wrong with being an academic. I like academics, well, some academics, but there becomes a disconnect when all of your practice, all of your study is literally done in academia or research, and you're not actually applying that to an actual practice. Because it changes, like theory and philosophy changes. We can sit around all day and drink coffee and talk about philosophy, but none of that does any good unless we actually put it into use. Now, from my teacher in India, what this meant, so we have the Yoga Sutras, we have the Bhagavad Gita, we have the Hatha Yoga Pradika, but we have all these manuals that have been written over these millennia about the condition of man, right? The man suffering, that we suffer because who we think we are is not who we really are. We think that we're our identities in this life, you know, the identity politics, that I think I'm a white girl from Georgia. But literally being a white girl from Georgia is only a moment in time for my soul. Because your soul, your body, your identity, your physicality, your attachment, your desires, these are all a part of the illusionary world, the Maya. And so we get into our bodies, we drop into our bodies, and we practice, for us, yoga asana, to challenge that friction of attachment, to see where we're attached to the illusion of the body, so that we can focus more on the soul. Because the soul, we suffer because that which we think is real is always in a state of change because it's not real. Right? We're constantly aging. Our life is constantly in ebb and flow. And so when we get in the body and we push the body and we feel the pain of the body and we feel that discomfort, not only do we challenge our mind, we burn karma, and we get more intact and more in touch with our soul. Now, in conversation around this theory, and this is just a very Cliff Notes version of this theory, guys, there's way more to it, but in a very Cliff Notes version of this, but like when we sit and just talk about the theory, yeah, that can make sense in theory. Like, yeah, okay, cool, I get it. Like, my soul is what's eternal, and that's the Shiva, and it created the Shakti, which is my body, which is the illusionary world. And right now, my soul is in my body, and it's having to do this tango with the world of matter. The rule of Prakriti, or matter, is it has a birth, a life, and a death, so it's a cyclical. And I think that's who I am, even though I'm in my body, I'm mortal. But my soul is what's immortal. But my soul is not Bryce. My soul is not this body, right? My soul is something else. And so the more we get in touch with that, we go through the ego death, the more that we can experience the soul. But again, in conversation, that's easy. But when you actually put it into practice, that's when it becomes a challenge. And so what I see with a lot of these people is that they'll study something and they think they understand it, but they're not actually practicing it. So like if you go to India, like this question to me doesn't make sense. I mean, I know what they're saying, but it doesn't make sense to me because I've actually lived in India. And I think they're misguided by I think Seeker 10 is misguided by the academics of it all, right? There's a misguidance there because I feel like some of these people focus so much just on the academics that they're not actually integrating what they're learning. Okay, so Buddhism is an offshoot of Hinduism. And have there been issues between Buddhism and Hinduism? Of course, absolutely. Just like there are issues between Protestant faiths and the Catholic Church. Same shit, you know? Same shit, different culture. But the Muslims and the Hindus, that's been the bigger problem. And that's been the bigger friction. And with the whole meat eating thing and non-meat eating thing, that goes more back to their relationship with the Islamic community. I'm not going to get too into that because that's not the point of this episode today. But the reason why I say they say close, yes, because they're looking at this friction, but they're not understanding that this is more nuanced. And so that's my biggest complaint about this group. And we see it a lot, like the last episode, it really made me mad because Laura obviously doesn't know anything about Hinduism. And I think that if anybody from this group really cared to listen, like it's 99% practice, 1% theory. Put the books down for a moment. Put it down. Get in your body. Get in your body. Go experience things and then take the academic. We call academics in the yoga world jnana yoga. It's knowledge-based yoga. So we start there so that we eventually forget all the knowledge and actually just live the experience. And I guess that's a good time, you guys. I'm going to take a moment here, a word from our sponsors. Of course, you guys know I have the Esoteric Academy, where Paula and I have, I'm really trying to bring all of my experiences to a broader audience because we are in a time of a great awakening. And I feel like everybody, we just need to get our shit together, right? Like, and we need to work on our stuff. And we need to get in our bodies and stop blaming other people and stop relying on crutches like academics to totally just academic our way out of this. We can't academic our way out of that, right? We have to get in our bodies because the academic is of the cerebral mind. That's the upper intelligence. That's the vata. We have to go back down in the kapha elements of the earth and be in our body. So we are this month of May, we are going to be looking at the axis of the body, which we've talked a lot about. Sushumna is part of the axis, which is the center line of the body. We have also, just so you guys are aware, if you are not aware, I will make you aware now. We now have on the Esoteric Academy the Ayurvedic Beginner's Guide. I put this together. It is on the Esoteric Academy that goes through all of the doshas to help. I use my information. I also pull from like 3 different Ayurvedic institutes. It's all sourced in the manual to help people take their power back with their health. So hold on for 1 second while we play a brief commercial about the Esoteric Academy and what's coming up this month with the axis, with studying the axis of the body. And now a word from one of our sponsors. For the past 19 years of my life, I have been deeply involved in my own spiritual journey. I have had the opportunity to study with world-renowned teachers, and before ever coming to YouTube, one of the biggest blessings of my life was spending years in India studying under one of the most prestigious yoga schools in the world. When 2020 hit, like many of you, my life drastically changed. My shala shut down, and overnight I went from teaching daily Mysore classes to having nothing to do. That is when I opened up Esoteric Atlanta, a YouTube channel that has blown bigger than my wildest dreams. And through the connections that I have made on Esoteric Atlanta, I now have the opportunity to bring the teachings that I have learned, the sacred teachings of the East, to a virtual platform where hopefully these teachings can reach more people. As many of you know, the world that we live in is absolutely corrupt. Everything has been inverted, especially the spiritual community. It seems that in modern times, people confuse spirituality with channeling, with talking to ghosts or reading tarot cards, when the reality is that's not spirituality at all. That's just communication. You see, the teachings of the East tell us that spirituality is getting to know your own spirit, your own soul, and the fact that your soul isn't your body, but the body indeed is the Shakti or creation of the soul. The body is what carries the karma. The body is what carries the energetic principles. And in this existence that your soul in its infinite wisdom has picked, you cannot escape your body. This is why throughout all ancient cultures, from India to Egypt to the Druids, they spoke about the body being the foundation of spirituality. As my friend Cindy says, spirit is what you are, but human is what you're asked to do right now. In so many modern spiritual circles, we see people trying to disassociate from the body, when in fact, just disassociating from the body is going to guarantee another trip back to Earth and build up even more karma. So the basis of all spiritual teaching is, in that respect, exercise, but not exercise in the way that we have been taught to exercise in the West, not exercise based on vanity, but rather exercise based on awakening the chakras, getting the spiritual fluid to flow through the body, and being able to strengthen the body so that the spinal cord, the part of the body that reaches into the quantum but also grounds down into earth, strong and stable. So what I have done on the Esoteric Academy, our virtual online mystery school, is I have taken all my 19 years of deep study, and I've taken all these principles found in things like traditional yoga, and I have put them into modern exercises that are a little bit more simplistic and that you can do in the comfort of your own home. For spinal health, a great video to try is our Axis strength training video, where I have used the modern method of strength training to bring vitality to the spine and the axis, and to awaken the chakras and secure the bandhas that hold the chakras in place. Right now, you can get 10% off your first month at the Esoteric Academy by using the discount code SHASHUMNA10. We have two different payment levels at the Esoteric Academy. One is only $25 a month, which grants you full access to our full exercise library, plus access to all of our monthly live virtual exercise classes. $25 a month is literally less than a drop-in at a yoga studio, and you get a whole library of workouts that you can do in the comfort of your own home. The next tier is $40 a month, which gives you access to all of the live exercise classes and live virtual exercise classes, as well as all of the courses that we have on the spiritual text, like the Bhagavad Gita, the Yoga Sutras, and our course on the Cassiopeans and the Law of One and how that relates to the study of yoga. But for now, here is more information on the spine, and then we'll get right back into the show. The axis of the body is the central channel of the body. It's also known as Sushumna. We also have a video here on our playlist called Sushumna and Backbending. So the spine, from a spiritual perspective, holds various meanings in different traditions and belief systems. One is an energy channel. In many spiritual and holistic traditions, the spine is viewed as a central channel for the flow of energy. This is referred to as prana or chi. It is believed that the spine houses energy centers known as chakras and corresponds to different aspects of physical, emotional, and spiritual health. The alignment and opening of these energy centers are thought to facilitate spiritual awakening and personal growth. In yogic philosophy, the spine is often associated with the concept of Kundalini energy, which is said to reside at the base of the spine. When awakened, this energy rises through the chakras along the spine, leading to a heightened state of consciousness, spiritual enlightenment, and self-realization. The spine provides physical support and stability to the body, which can be seen as a metaphor for spiritual support and grounding. A strong and aligned spine is often associated with a strong sense of self, confidence, and the ability to stand firm in one's beliefs and values. The spine is sometimes viewed as a bridge between the physical and the spiritual realms. It connects the lower bodies associated with earthly material concerns to the upper body associated with higher consciousness and spiritual awareness. This connection emphasizes the integration of body, mind, and spirit. Spiritual traditions often emphasize the importance of posture, meditation, and mindfulness practices. An aligned spine is thought to facilitate better breathing, focus, and energy flow, enhancing one's ability to connect with the present moment and cultivate inner peace. The spine can symbolize the journey of transformation and ascension. Just as the spine supports the body in standing upright, it can also represent the journey of rising above challenges and limitations to achieve higher state of awareness and spiritual growth. In some traditions, the spine is seen as a repository of ancestral wisdom and experiences. The health and alignment of the spine may reflect one's ability to access this wisdom and integrate it into their life. The spine is regarded as a vital component in spiritual practices, symbolizing energy flow, connection between different states of being, and the journey of personal and spiritual development. Its significance can vary widely across different cultures and spiritual traditions, but it consistently represents a crucial link between the physical and spiritual aspects of existence. And now back to the show. Okay, all right. So all of that information is down in the description box below, guys. Just shoot me a 10 to get you 10% off your first month, and you do have 7 days of a free access to try the Academy out and see how you like it. Okay, so if so, are there any contributions of cosmic events that caused the Black Death in the West and was responsible for the cow's scarcity that the Brahmins used against the Buddhists? Yes, very insightful. Roman Empire also fell and Europe burned at the same time also. Do the people who passed away from make a pre-life soul agreement to do this? Not really. Remember, this is a campaign for control and unaliving. Those who have unalived did so as a result of ignorance. In many cases, it's the organic portals that are unable to achieve insight. Organic portals do not make pre-incarnational agreements. So an organic portal, for those who are new, is a person who does not have a soul. And 50% of the people on this planet are organic portals, meaning they don't have souls. So organic portals don't have a life plan. They don't have a destiny. They don't have a pre-incarnational agreement. So that makes sense that a lot of the people that are getting these and leaving are organic portals. So OPs don't make pre-incarnational agreements because they do not have crystallized souls that are capable of doing it. Is that it? Yes. It's not much different than from being run over by a bus. Both are making a wrong choice. There's nothing special about unaliving from this compared to any other way. The C's mentioned that the Aryan invasion of India was around 6000 BC, but recent genetic analysis of bone samples from the Indus Valley civilization suggests that the Aryans from 6000 BC, Iranian farmers, were different from Kurgo-Hypnosis Indo-Aryans. Is that true? Note that Iranian farmers are also Indo-Aryans. And again, we'll get into that with the Nordic Covenant, guys, in a different episode. How are they different? Genetic admixture over time. Would the Casey wet cell be beneficial for Pierre? Not at this junction. I don't know what this is. This might be something medical, but I know that Pierre does eventually pass away, you guys. Does it make any difference to the soul whether the body is inhabited, is burned, or cremated after unaliving? No, I'm still getting myself this because I don't trust the powers that be at all. I mean, it doesn't matter to the soul, no. So what? That's the question, right? Does it make any difference to the soul? No, because the soul vacates. Like, you don't care what happens to the house or the apartment you used to live in, right? You're not there anymore. But I choose cremation because I don't want my body, this body, being used for nefarious purposes after my soul leaves it. That's my 2 cents on the matter. How is it possible? How possible is a direct confrontation between the US and China in the event of a Chinese invasion of Taiwan? There might be a kerfuffle, but it will be quickly quailed. The seeds mention that Atlantis was a civilization rather than just a city. But what are the coordinates of the specific city mentioned by Plato, which may be sunk? Also, did the overall design of the city look how it was mentioned in the story? Now, this is crazy to me. I think they get a little off about this. Like, they kind of get a little bit like wackadoo about the fact that the seas have said that Atlantis was like the whole world. And from my research, yeah, that's what I picked up from mine, is that Atlantis wasn't just one place. It was like the whole earth was Atlantis. So yeah, I think Plato was probably speaking about a specific city, but like everywhere, so congratulations, wherever you all are on the earth, that was at one point Atlantis. Like, we were all a part of Atlantis. Laura says, we kind of recently covered that a long time ago. It's in the sessions. My aunt passed away pretty recently. I was wondering if she made it to the other side. Okay, yes. Okay, is Lula from Brazil a useful idiot, or is he on the globalist agenda? He is now initiated. We have any Brazilians in the audience? There you go. In case of significant Russian victories, will PTB try to create global smokescreen in order to divert the public's focus to something else, something that will make the U country completely unimportant, close, but many unexpected events yet to unfold in this arena? I don't want to. Okay, is B being set up for ouster by the DS? So if you need to look at the Illuminati, another name for the Illuminati, somewhat, the threat of extreme exposure and action by legitimate necessitate preemptive damage control. How likely is the alien invasion real or fake to be used soon? Soon enough, no dice, baby. So again, they can't tell us some things because it will mess with our free will. I meant in the order of things versus war and famine. Oh, well, that wasn't most likely to be associated with catastrophe. Some kind of shit was to hit the fan before anyone can come and be a savior, right? Problem, reaction, solution. Problem, reaction. That's why I get so cracked up with people who are like, the Bible prophecies are coming true. And I'm like, no shit, they're coming true. When you write the script and control the special effects, you can make the prophecies come true. The Freemasons wrote the Bible. That is fact. And so they're making these prophecies come true to get you to take the knee, to capitulate to the NWO when they can put hologram Jesus in the sky. Problem, reaction, solution. Write the script, create the special effects, and then give the savior. And boom, you've got the whole world in your hand, baby. I mean, it's so, and that's what gets me so upset about, well, a lot of religions. It's like, wake the fuck up. They're not going to let. You mean to tell me you think that, that our government's messed up, our schools messed up, all that, everything's messed up and corrupt, but you think in that same logic, you think the world's biggest religion isn't? Did they just let the Bible be the word of God? No dice, my friends. Like, absolutely not. That's stupid to think that. All right. What group is the closest genetically to the Denisovians in today's world? we'll have to look this up in a later, guys. I'm going to write this down. Obviously, I usually will do this in the middle of the reading, but you guys know it's kind of a crazy day. So I'm going to write this down, and we can look at this later on. ABOS. U.S. budget debit crisis coming up on Thursday, I believe. Will it set in motion a financial crash in the U.S. or globally? Will definitely set up a conflict. And before we go on, I just want to say, if me saying that about the Bible triggers you, good. You need to be triggered. But you have to also remember that God is not religion. In the crumbling of religion, my belief in God has never shifted. Because religion is man-made. God isn't man-made. It's actually strengthened my faith in God. Now that we take the bells and whistles and the distraction and the glitter and the glam of religion away, it's just God. So there will be conflict between the Dems and the Republicans. I think that's what they're going to try. They're trying to do. They're going to try to control things through financials. Our beliefs, thoughts, and emotions stored in the physical body, shadows and echoes. Yep, that's the shadow work. Are you saying that they're mainly stored in the non-physical body? Yes. But the non-physical body creates the physical body. So this is what I'm talking about. They need to be doing the physical practice, because Laura wouldn't be asking this question if she was actually doing a physical practice. Because she would know this, because the Shiva creates the Shakti. The consciousness creates the matter. A body without a soul is not going to have any restrictions. It's not going to have any limitations, because there is no shadows and echoes. There's no shadow work, as it's called. So yes, the body is going to keep the score, because the consciousness, the soul, is holding that information within. In yoga, there's the mind, and the body is the mind field. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Yoga is chitta, mind, vritti, like dropping like waves of thought, nirodha, nothingness. So it's trying to nullify and figure out where there in the body, the waves of thought that are generated into the body from the consciousness, where it's being stored in the body. And if we ignore it and we don't work on that body, we don't work on that karma, guess what? It's like a snowball. It just gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and you got more life. You got to come back in a different life and deal with an even bigger karmic issue. Right? So this is what frustrates me the most about this group. It's 99% practice, only 1% theory, only 1% theory. But they seem to be doing all the theory and research without actually putting it into practice. All right. Do our false beliefs, thoughts, negative emotions create an imaginal body that we understand as a false personality? Close. Yep, that's the ego. You said in a previous session that our group's greatest weakness was the lack of true collinearity. Have we gotten better on that front? Yes. So I'm going back to this. They would not have to ask these questions. What did Laura just say? Garbage in, garbage out. Well, I'm going to say the same thing. Garbage in, garbage out. You would not need to be asking these questions if you actually did a practice. If you got off your asses and moved your damn body, you would not need to ask these questions. So for me, for Renaissance, for Laura, that's garbage in, garbage out. Stupid questions, stupid answers. Like, this is in the Yoga Sutras. This is in the Bhagavad Gita. It's all there. You just got to get on your mat and move, and then you're going to understand that the more you're in your body, the more you understand this. The more this becomes like infuriating, because duh. And I know someone said Laura had a tough, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Not one person in this world has a perfect body. I've broken my sacrum. I've broken my wrist. I've gone through so many health issues. I practiced beside a woman dying of cancer when I was in India last time. We have a student of cerebral palsy who can't move half of his body. If you feel like you have a sickness that gives you the entitlement to not do your work, that's a shade of that's a narcissistic trait. Nobody is entitled to get out of doing their work. If you're using a physical pain as an excuse to not do your work, that is entitlement. And it makes me so, and that's one thing that makes me the maddest, because I work with students every single day who come into that shala and they are in so much pain. They have so much going on, and but they do it anyway. And they work with their body, and they listen to the pain, and they move through it. And when I see them doing that, and I've got some Joe Schmo over here sitting here like, oh, my big toes hurt, I want to smack them and be like, you narcissistic prick. What gives you the right? You think you're entitled because your body hurts? Do you not realize that every single person on this planet, their body hurts too? In my early 20s, there were days where I couldn't hardly get out of bed, where I had to have assistance getting out of bed. I had back surgery at 17. So don't you dare talk about excuses. I continue practicing through a broken sacrum. And I'm so glad I did that, because now at 42, I feel young. I feel vibrant. I manage my body pain without any type of medication, because I'm not afraid to do it. I'm not afraid to face that pain. And I don't think that I'm special. I don't think that my pain gives me any justification or any right not to do the work. In fact, the more pain I'm in, the more work I probably should be doing. Humble yourselves. Realize you're not special. We're all special in our own ways, but you're not more special than anybody else. You don't have some messed up body that somebody else doesn't have. We all have our karma, and it plays out in our body, because the body is the Shakti, as we're seeing here. And again, this is Yoga 101. This is like the beginner level yoga. And these questions would not need to be asked if these people actually did their work. They're not doing their work. So anyway, I know that sounds tough love, but that's what true spirituality is. True spirituality is tough love, because it's based in fact. It's not based in feelings. It's based in your feelings, as in your feelings are giving you an indication of your karma. But that doesn't mean you run from that. That means you have to lean into it. When you're in India, nobody in India is reading you poetry like that. When I go to like these or I don't go to them, but when I see these like vinyasa flow classes, which you guys, vinyasa flow is not yoga. That's not yoga. That's like a yoga size class. That's not it. And they talk in these like weird teacher voices, and they like read poetry. Like I'm a little bit offended by that. Like that, why did you change your voice? Why are you trying to perform right now? Why are you reading poetry? We're dealing with some really hard stuff. Like, and that's what I love about when you're in India, because in India, they don't change their voice. They don't do that. They talk to you like an adult. They talk to you in a very real way. Why fearing? Let's go. Let's do it again. Do it again. Why shaking? Do it again. One more time. They even tell you in India, if you need to lose weight, they're like, you need to lose weight. Why are you overeating? We got to figure this out. And they don't do it in a nice way. It's not like, oh, it might be best if you kind of, drop some weight. No, they're like, you've gained weight, and we got to figure out why. What's going on to make you. So yeah. Anyway, that just really makes me mad, because I feel like this is a showing where there's infiltration, anyway. All right, let's go down. Does Eastern Orthodox Christianity represent a more preserved, a Paleo-Christianity out of the dominations, relatively speaking? Heavy on relatively speaking. So I guess that's a yes, which with the emphasis on relatively, yes. Are the PTB planning a soul crushing for Christians? Not so much. Would the alien invasion appear as false coming of Christ with angels? Might be spun that way. And I did an Operation Bluebird deep dive, or now my mind's gone blank. Anyway, I did a deep dive into that a long time ago, and that was the original operation, was to make it Jesus in the sky and not aliens. Is it possible to make an electronic generator that is more than 100% efficient? No. Will Bill G be prevented from GMOing our livestock and other nefarious plans, perhaps by bulk awareness of public to unaliving injury from? Not entirely. We know that, not entirely. At what stage will the aliens introduce themselves? After Western civilization has collapsed? I don't think they're going to give you that. I think it's more than just a free will violation about giving some answers. I think if they are to give answers, our thinking about something in one way or another is specific and can actually throw it off, cancel it, or, influence it. It's like observing the election before it's a wave, and then you observe it as a particle. I think we have to be very careful about some of these things because we can make things worse. And I just want to reiterate, like I said in the beginning, two things are true. Just because I get frustrated because they seem to rely so much on academics that they're not actually getting in their bodies doesn't mean that I also don't respect them for doing this. Two things can be true, right? This is nuanced. Um, and back a long time ago, that used to be just normal conversation, right? Like when I was a kid, if you disagreed with something or wanted to push back, you could, and nobody faulted you, and you just had a civil conversation, debate about it, and you still could respect the person while holding a different opinion or being like, I don't think you're accurate with this, but still respect them. Today's world, we've gotten very cult-like in things, and so please understand that even though I push back on some of this stuff, I also respect the hell out of them for doing this. Okay. What is the overall toxicology and carcinogenic burden of addictive-free nicotine vaporizers versus originally source addicted-free tobacco? Slightly less. The vaporizers are slightly less. I think so. The vaporizers are less. Yes. Did name redacted husband name redact have a safe transition to 5D? Oh, indeed, a shining soul protecting from the other side. Are the majority of U.S. Christians sympathetic to Russian? Not majority, no. Many are as brainwashed as the woke people and the neo-Darwinist. Oh, the neo-Darwinist. I was like, what are they talking about? Is there anything the rest of us can do to make things easier for Laura and Andrew Media? Just send them good vibrations to this arm here. That's it. They're the ones on the board. And I think it would be easier, Laura, if you actually exercise. I think it would be easier to do the board, because you would have arm strength, right? Come to the Esoteric Academy. Listen, Laura, your cousin over here, my boyfriend is a master teacher. Just Zoom with him. He'll show you stuff. After having read your excellent book about Paul, we can easily understand that Mark was inspired by him, and then Matthew and Luke made their own historicals inspired by Mark, changing some important things to fit in their own agenda. Everything could have been perfect for some people if we had never retrieved the letters of Paul, or if Mark had been completely erased, lost. Could we say that the well-intended person saved the letters of Paul, and then Mark, against all odds, especially against the service to self? Well, yes. Now, earlier, you guys know they talked about the Gospels were written by Greek three-letter agencies back in the day. So, some well-intended person. I think that Paul and Mark survived in very small communities that were Paulinian communities that were not a vast There was not a vast proliferation of copies, which is why there's so little less. Also, we have to remember that most of what the reality of the Bible is, we've never seen, because King James rewrote it all. I mean, that's just fact. It's on the Freemason website. You can look it up yourself. I'll tag a video down below of me going through King James. The Sapphire Project claims to have created an artificial sun. I just want to know if it's fraud or if they have actually achieved what they claim. Well, what do they mean by creating an artificial sun? I mean, go and grow lights that reproduce the spectrum of sunlight to grow plants. So if that's what they are doing, you need to recreate nuclear fusion according to the mainstream science. Anyway, the question is it a fraud, or have they achieved what they have claimed? If you have not seen it, then it would be wise to doubt it. So the C's have said basically that there's going to be a 90-degree shift of the equator caused by a galactic current sheet energizing the sun, which then micronovas is the galactic current of the sheet wave. 90-degree shift of equator. A 90-degree shift of the equator would be like pointing the equator up. I know that's what I was thinking. It won't. Yeah, that doesn't make sense to me. There's only a 23-degree tilt. So they're saying that they're thinking that the equator is gonna make a night. So the equator is gonna come around the poles. I mean, the C's are saying no. That just doesn't, sometimes common sense ain't so common. And I think sometimes, again, getting back to this, like some of these people are so academic, they don't have a lot of common sense. They don't have a lot of street smarts. And my mom used to tell us that all the time growing up. She'd be like, I would so much rather you girls have street smarts and common sense than academic smarts, because And again, that's kind of the pushback I have with some of these people. They're so academically smart that I think sometimes they miss like street smarts and like common sense. Anyway. Yes, let's see. After the whole planet gets smacked by comets. Well, then the next question. Is the galactic current sheet the wave? No. Is the sun going to be a micronova? No. Um, let's see. Does the strobe lighting on the chateau Christmas trees have any effect on its inhabitants? It's not strobing, it's blinking, all kind of blinkings. We only use it like 1 hour a week. We only turned it on for you guys. Yeah. So you could have been enjoying seeing it and feel some Christmas cheer and get the strobe effects. Yeah, it's strobing for you guys. Mwahaha. It's entertaining your brain, brainwashing you laughter. Okay, yes, it's the real miracle that Mark and Paul's letter were actually saved. Absolutely. That's it for questions. All right, then, one more question. Has Macron been considered good or smart enough to be provided with the letters of Paul? Has he been part of a group that wanted to save the truth against the Church of Jerusalem? Yeah, I'm convinced that it was Macron who got it through the particular dark time and yeah, again, I just think there's too much thought into this. Like we're gonna have to get rid of all the religion anyway. Like I don't know. This is what again makes me mad because we know that Christianity is it's negatively polarized. Like they've told us this. And so I don't know why. I don't know if it's still that lingering like you always want to be the one that's right. Like my Jesus is better than your Jesus. You always want to be part of the culture that's right. But that is ego and that is looking at a pecking order and a pecking order is always negatively polarized. So I don't understand why. We've done our deep dive into the missing books of the Bible, and it's nice to know the truth. But at the end of the day, it's just like I was saying, that's all jhana yoga. Like eventually that has to be let go of anyway. Once you know the truth, then you just got to kind of let go of it and just be able to be on the new path. And so sometimes I feel like they kind of circle back to like old programming. And maybe it's because they're all Westerners and they just want to be right. And it's like, no, but none of us are right. Like none. I don't know. Anyway. Um, Answer, you're all doing well. We know it's difficult, but a bit more humor might help. Also, do have some fun together. Goodbye. We work too much. How are we supposed to have we're all so depressed? Exercise! Come on, you guys. Like Laura, one of my favorite movies, Legally Blonde, where that girl is on like a trial for murdering her husband, and Elle's like, I'm trying to be careful how I say this because of YouTube. She exercised. Exercise gives you endorphins. Endorphins make you happy, and happy people don't murder their husbands. And I don't know what this conversation was about the Christmas lights. I can't stand blinking Christmas lights, but I love Christmas lights. I like it when it's not blinking. But anyway, so what did you guys think about that? Again, I am going to continue to push back on some of the stuff from my research and my experience that I see they might be lacking. And I do, if anybody watches, like, I'm going to just really encourage you to put things into practice. Don't just research and sit there at your desk all day. Like integrate it, like get in your body. And yes, I know your body's hurt. Like I know you've all got stuff but everybody does. Every person on this planet has something wrong with their body, whether it's arthritis, whether it's lupus. We have plenty of students that practice with us that have lupus, whether it's a hard I mean, I had an interview with Mariela Cruz. She's coming back on the channel eventually, but she has 7 children and they were all difficult pregnancies. And she's in her late 50s and practices advanced series B in yoga. There is literally no excuse. If you're using your body's pain as an excuse not to lean into the pain to correct it, that's a narcissistic trait that you might want to like look at. Some self-reflection on why you feel like you're entitled to not work on yourself. Yeah. And if you're doing all this channeling, especially, it's even more important. Like I won't go to a healer who doesn't exercise. I won't do it. That's stupid. That would be stupid of me to do that. Why? Because if you're channeling this energy all day healing people, but you're not taking the time to detox yourself and work on your own stuff, then what good are you as a healer? Right? Like it's like being a cook and never cleaning the kitchen. Ew. Like if you owned a restaurant and you were a cook and you never cleaned your kitchen, your restaurant would be shut down. So if you're a healer and you're not exercising, you're not flushing your body, what are you doing? And that's the one big pushback I have. And I just wish, I mean, especially if you're channeling, and also just the physicality to sit there all day and channel. I mean, the fact that your arms are getting tired after a couple hours speaks volumes. I mean, we're in Mysore rooms for like 4 hours at a time, lifting people. And if you can't do this for a couple of hours, if you're sore, then that's a really big indication that you need to exercise. You need to do some strength training. Your body's communicating with you. Your body is telling you where it's when you feel soreness, when you feel tired, wherever that is, it's your body telling you where you need to be to strengthen up. And there's no excuse. There's literally no excuse. I've practiced through broken bones. There's no excuse. There's none. And if you feel like you have an excuse, again, that's self-reflection you need to do on why you feel like you're entitled to do something that everybody else in the world has to do. Anyway, that's just my 2 cents. But with that being said, I still absolutely 100% am so grateful that they put this up. I have, again, two things can be true. I can get frustrated, but also be very respectful and venerate them and celebrate them for putting this stuff out there. So anyway, you guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And I'm going to probably film quickly here a follow-up for a deja vu, because that might be interesting. And since we're a little bit off schedule from this week, that might be a fun new video to do. I hope you guys have a wonderful day.